What is AIDS disease? AIDS is a chronic disease that poses a threat to life and is caused by a virus that causes a deficiency of the immune system in humans. How does the AIDS virus work? The AIDS virus robs the body of its ability to fight and resist viruses, germs, and fungi by infecting the immune system, making the body vulnerable to various diseases. AIDS exposes the human body to certain types of cancer and infections that it could have fought and overcome, such as pneumonia, meningitis, and the virus and the inflammation it causes to AIDS is called a virus, human immunodeficiency virus (HIV). The term acquired immunodeficiency syndrome or acquired immunodeficiency syndrome is a definition of AIDS in its most advanced stages. About 39.5 million people around the world are infected with the AIDS virus today. Despite the inhibition of AIDS in several countries of the world, the extent of the spread of AIDS remains the same and has even increased in other countries. Operations through which the AIDS virus cannot be transmitted. In order to get infected with the AIDS virus, infected blood, contaminated semen, or contaminated vaginal discharge must enter the body, and therefore infection with the AIDS virus does not occur through normal daily contact with a person infected with the AIDS virus, such as hugging, kissing, dancing, or shaking hands. The mechanism of infection with the AIDS virus. Normally, white blood cells attack and destroy foreign organisms that invade the body, as this reaction is regulated and coordinated by white blood cells called T lymphocytes. Lymphocytes CD4. These T lymphocytes are also the central target of the AIDS virus, which attacks these cells and penetrates into them, and after the AIDS virus succeeds in penetrating these cells, it introduces its genetic material into them and in this way multiplies itself. New cloned AIDS viruses begin to exit the host lymphocyte and enter the bloodstream, where there they begin to look for new cells to attack. Groups most at risk of AIDS infection. Any human being at any age of any gender can become infected with the AIDS virus, but the risk of contracting the AIDS virus increases when having unprotected sexual intercourse with several people, and the degree of danger does not differ whether a person has sex with the opposite sex, with the same sex, or with both sexes. Unprotected sexual intercourse means having sexual intercourse without a condom. Having a sexual relationship with a partner who carries the AIDS virus. A person infected with another infectious sexual disease, such as syphilis, herpes, chlamydia, gonorrhea, viral vaginitis. Repeated several times use of syringes and shared needles when taking intravenous drugs. The lack of a sufficient amount of a gene, CCL3L1, that helps fight the AIDS virus. Newborn babies and babies of mothers who are carriers of the AIDS virus but have not received preventive treatment. Meanwhile, the host lymphocyte and neighboring healthy T cells die due to the effects of the attacking AIDS virus, forming a cyclical phenomenon that repeats itself over and over again. Thus, in this process, millions of new cells of the AIDS virus are produced daily, and at the end of this process, the number of T cells decreases, until reaching a serious immunodeficiency, which means the body's inability to resist viruses and pathogenic germs that attack it. Groups most at risk of AIDS infection. Any human being at any age of any gender can become infected with the AIDS virus, but the risk of contracting the AIDS virus increases when having unprotected sexual intercourse with several people, and the degree of danger does not differ whether a person has sex with the opposite sex, with the same sex, or with both sexes. Unprotected sexual intercourse means having sexual intercourse without a condom. Having a sexual relationship with a partner who carries the AIDS virus. A person infected with another infectious sexual disease, such as syphilis, herpes, chlamydia, gonorrhea, viral vaginitis. Repeated several times use of syringes and shared needles when taking intravenous drugs. The lack of a sufficient amount of a gene, CCL3L1, that helps fight the AIDS virus. Newborn babies and babies of mothers who are carriers of the AIDS virus but have not received preventive treatment. 1. Symptoms of the early stage of inflammation. In the initial stages of exposure to the AIDS virus, no symptoms or signs of AIDS may appear, although very common in AIDS is the appearance of flu-like symptoms and soon disappear after 2 to 4 weeks from the moment of exposure to the AIDS virus. Symptoms of AIDS may include the following. Body temperature rises. Swelling in the area of the lymph nodes. Skin rashes. If someone has been exposed to the AIDS virus, they are likely to transmit the AIDS virus to other people even if they do not show any symptoms of AIDS. As soon as the AIDS virus enters the body, the immune system becomes vulnerable to attack. The AIDS virus multiplies and multiplies itself inside the lymph nodes, and then begins a slow process of destruction of T lymphocytes, TCD4, which are white blood cells responsible for coordinating all the processes and activities of the immune system. 2. Symptoms of the advanced stage of inflammation. The patient may not experience any symptoms in the advanced stages of AIDS for a period of 1 to 9 years, and sometimes even more. But in the meantime, the AIDS virus continues to multiply and multiply itself, as well as systematically destroy the cells of the immune system. At this stage, the sufferer may have some symptoms of chronic AIDS, such as swelling of the lymph glands, diarrhea, weight loss, body temperature rises, cough, shortness of breath. 3. Symptoms of the last stages of inflammation. In the last stages of the symptoms of AIDS and HIV infection, which are 10 years and more after exposure to the AIDS virus for the first time, the most serious symptoms of AIDS begin to appear, and then the inflammation becomes in a state that can be called AIDS.